Hey there, nerd fighters! Today we're diving into a period of history that's about as fun as a root canal the Spanish Inquisition. But don't worry, we're going to make it as painless as possible. Buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Imagine you're on a roller coaster, but instead of loops and drops, you're navigating through a maze of religious fervor and political intrigue. Picture this. It's the late 15th century and Spain is like that friend who just discovered a new hobby and won't stop talking about it. That hobby? Catholicism. The country is buzzing with religious zeal and everyone is expected to get on board. After centuries of religious diversity, Spain decides it's time for everyone to sing from the same hymn sheet. Literally, the rulers wanted to unify the country under one faith, and they were willing to go to extreme lengths to make that happen. This wasn't just your average Sunday school disagreement, it was a full-blown campaign to root out anyone who didn't conform to the new religious norms. We're talking forced conversions, accusations of heresy, and a whole lot of finger-pointing. Families were torn apart, and communities were thrown into chaos. Think Salem witch trials but with better costumes and way worse PR. The Spanish Inquisition became infamous for its brutal methods and the fear it instilled in people. Needless to say, things were about to get real in Spain. The Inquisition left a lasting mark on history, and its legacy is still felt today. So, as we delve into this dark chapter, remember to keep an open mind and a sense of curiosity. History, after all, is not just about dates and events, but about understanding the human experience. So why was everyone so obsessed with religious uniformity? It wasn't just a matter of personal belief or spiritual salvation. The stakes were much higher, involving the very fabric of society and governance. Well, it wasn't just about faith. Religion was deeply intertwined with politics, and controlling religious practices meant controlling the populace. This was politics mixed with a hefty dose of social control. Leaders knew that a unified religious front could help maintain order and suppress dissent. First off, you've got King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, the ultimate power couple of the time. Their marriage united the kingdoms of Aragon and Castile, creating a powerful Spanish state. They were all about consolidating power. By enforcing religious uniformity, they could strengthen their rule and diminish the influence of rival factions. A unified religion? That was like hitting the jackpot of social control. It meant fewer uprisings, more loyalty, and a more manageable kingdom. But wait, there's more. Remember those forced conversions I mentioned? They were a tool to ensure that everyone outwardly conformed to the same set of beliefs, even if they didn't truly believe. Turns out, a lot of people who said they converted didn't really mean it. They continued to practice their original faith in secret, leading to a climate of suspicion and paranoia. These conversos, we see you, secret Jews and Muslims, were viewed with suspicion. They were often accused of heresy and faced severe consequences if caught. Throw in some economic anxieties, a dash of anti-Semitism, and you've got yourself a recipe for disaster. The economic tensions often exacerbated religious intolerance, leading to further persecution. And by disaster, I mean the Spanish Inquisition. This infamous institution was established to root out heresy and enforce religious conformity, often through brutal means. It was a dark chapter in history, driven by a complex web of political, social, and economic factors. Now let's meet the stars of our show, the Inquisitors. These figures were not just any ordinary members of the clergy. They were a special breed, tasked with a mission that was as daunting as it was controversial. Their job? To root out heresy and maintain the religious orthodoxy of the time. But don't be fooled by their religious titles. These individuals wielded immense power and were often feared by the common folk. These weren't your friendly neighborhood priests. They were more like the enforcers of religious law, the watchdogs of faith, ensuring that everyone towed the line. Their stern expressions and unyielding demeanor were enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. They were more like the religious police, armed with scrolls, quill pens, and a whole lot of authority. These scrolls weren't just for show. They contained the laws and doctrines that the Inquisitors were sworn to uphold, and those quill pens, they were used to document the fates of those who fell under their scrutiny. At the helm, we have the infamous Tomás de Torquemada, a name that has become synonymous with the Spanish Inquisition. His reputation precedes him, and not in a good way. This guy makes Simon Cowell look like a teddy bear. With his stern expression and intimidating demeanor, Torquemada was a force to be reckoned with. He was relentless in his pursuit of heretics and left a trail of fear and compliance in his wake. Torquemada was all about rooting out heresy, and he wasn't afraid to use questionable methods to do it. His tactics were as ruthless as they were effective. and he believed that the end justified the means. We're talking torture, imprisonment, and yes, even executions. The methods employed were brutal and often inhumane, designed to extract confessions and instill fear. The mere mention of the Inquisition was enough to make anyone think twice about straying from the accepted norms. Think of it like a very messed up game show where the grand prize is not being burned at the stake. The stakes were incredibly high, and the consequences of being found guilty were dire. Public executions served as a grim reminder of the power and reach of the Inquisition. Fun fact: the word Inquisition actually comes from the Latin word for inquiry. But don't let that fool you into thinking it was a fair and balanced process. Ironic, right? Because it wasn't much of an inquiry if you were presumed guilty from the get-go. The trials were often a mere formality, with the outcome predetermined. The Inquisition was less about seeking the truth and more about enforcing conformity and obedience. Section 4. The Gavel and the Gauntlet, a Toolbox of Terror. So, how did the Inquisition actually work? Well, it all started with an Edict of Grace, which, let's be real, was anything but graceful. This was basically a public announcement that gave people a chance to confess their sins against the church. If you didn't fess up, get ready for a visit from the Inquisition. They were big fans of torture, using everything from the rack to waterboarding. And you thought your history homework was torture? But the real kicker? You never knew who to trust. The Inquisition encouraged people to rat out their neighbors, friends, even family members. Talk about awkward family dinners. Section 5. Beyond the burning stakes, lasting impact. The Spanish Inquisition wasn't just a blip in history. It cast a long shadow over Spain and beyond, leaving a legacy of fear, distrust, and religious intolerance. Sure, the Inquisition officially ended in the 19th century, but its impact on Spanish culture, its art, its literature, that's a whole other video. Don't worry, I'm working on it. The Inquisition serves as a stark reminder of what happens when power goes unchecked and fear trumps reason. It's a lesson we'd be wise to remember even today. Section 6. Myths and Misconceptions. Now, before we wrap up, let's address the elephant, or should I say the auto de fe, in the room. The Spanish Inquisition has been the subject of countless myths and exaggerations. Contrary to popular belief, they didn't actually shout "Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition," although that would have been pretty epic. And while the Inquisition was undoubtedly brutal, historians now estimate that the number of executions was far lower than previously thought. Still not great, but hey, at least we're getting our facts straight. The point is, it's important to separate fact from fiction when studying history. Even, or perhaps especially, when it comes to the most uncomfortable chapters. Section 7. Why should we care? So why dredge up this dark and twisty period of history? Well, because understanding the past helps us navigate the present. The Spanish Inquisition might seem like ancient history, but religious intolerance, discrimination, and the abuse of power, those are issues that still resonate today. By learning from the mistakes of the past, by confronting injustice wherever we find it, we can work towards building a better, more tolerant future. And that's something worth fighting for. Stay curious, nerd fighters. And remember, history might not always be pretty, but it's always worth learning from.